Conference of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. The clear-cut direction has been given that there will be no change as far as insurance GST is concerned. Finance Minister also outlined that why it has been done, because no inputs have come from the insurance regulator IRDAI yet, and hence decision has not been taken on levying or reducing the health insurance GST. Apart from that, Finance Minister also highlighted that black pepper, raisins and agriculture, that exemption will be there for agriculture. There were a lot of speculations if you talk about GOM on rate rationalization. Finance Minister clearly telling that there is no such discussion which has happened in the meeting. Delivery tax on food aggregators, quick commerce, again no decision has been taken in the meeting. And apart from that, levying tax on used car, that has been increased, but Finance Minister has said that as far as the intent of government is concerned, they wanted to bring it to 5%, but as it is the case for other used car vehicles, whether it is EV or other car, the rate has been decided accordingly. So if you're buying a new car, the rate remains at 5%, but for used car, the decision has been made in the favor of increasing the rate. Apart from that, payment aggregators less than 2,000 is also getting an exemption. So all these details emerging in after the press conference which was just conducted by Finance Minister. We have with us Abhishek Rastogi. Mr. Rastogi, welcome to ET Now. You would have heard press conference of Finance Minister. Now the finer details are here. First question, the expectation was there on insurance, but that has not happened, and the Finance Minister has given the details on that front. What is your take on that?
See, I think as far as insurance is concerned, any rate reduction which happens today will not benefit the insurance sector, but will benefit the consumer. Because one anti-profiteering sunset will come into play with effect from 31st of March 2025. And if some reduction happens now, the benefit will have to pass on to the consumer. So I feel that the life insurance sector or the companies would not be very keen as of now to get any rate reduced. And hence, possibly there is no push from the industry sector as well. So I think that decision, if it would have come, would have benefited the consumers, not the insurance sector players. So that's what has happened.
Also joined by Mahesh Jai Singh. Welcome, sir, on the show. If you would have heard the announcement which was made by Finance Minister on payment aggregators, they are going to get exemption if they are less than 2,000. How does it will impact the industry according to you?
I don't think that should have a material impact, but I think on a larger theme, if you see whether on insurance or the rate of tax on on the real estate and the overall GOM, I think a lot, my take in this meeting has been it's work in progress. There's a significant, deferment that has happened on decisions. One can look at it, okay, we were hoping with bated breath to get some clarity, but with such a highly democratized process, which is very important for a tax law of this size and magnitude, it's better that decisions are deferred with larger consensus and alignment. So I'm going to watch this space for the next 56 council meeting. Let's not forget the earlier 2 council meetings this year were blockbuster meetings in terms of number of announcements. This time, given that the agendas and focus area seems to be more on rate, it seems a lot more in work in progress.
Yes, definitely. The decisions are more deferred than taken if you talk as a summary. But one specific clarification has come about EVs per se. Mr. Rastogi, how do you think this will impact the market? Because the Finance Minister clearly mentioning the tax is on margin, not the exact sale value.
I think very, very pragmatic move. They have kept the rate of 5% on the new EVs, which was expected, and it has happened, which is certainly a very, very good move. On the old EVs or the used EVs, the government is very clear that there will be 18% tax on the old because the market is not yet saturated. So there is no need to reduce those and let these be treated at par with other vehicles. But at the same time, there is a very, very clear indication that the 18% will be applicable only on the margin. So I think from that perspective, there will not be any hue and cry in terms of the rate increase because that's only on the margin. So I think a very, very good and pragmatic move by the GST Council.
Thing I want more understanding with you, gentlemen, and I would want to come to you, Mahesh ji. Whether reverse charge or forward charge should be there in floor space index. That deliberation was done by GST Council today. What does it mean for borrowers and also for the industry?
So I think from a borrower's perspective, it's not relevant because that the tax is on the final pricing. This is on the chain of the real estate sector. There are different nuances, and all of which are actually referred to into the GOM of real estate. What do you do for taxation of TDR? What do you do for valuation of TDR? I think there are some guidelines for residential based TDR, but not for commercial based TDR. So I think these aspects have been represented, as I understand, from industry. And to me, it's more an issue which will impact the real estate developers and sectors where the clarity is still required. It's work in progress. But I don't think today's is giving full clarity or conclusion. And I think that's in light of the fact that the GOM for real estate is yet to complete its exercise.
We are also joined by Ashwin Parekh in this discussion. Ashwin, we are discussing that many decisions which has been deferred, but one clarity coming in from Finance Minister that there is going to be no penal charges if you no GST on penal charges if you talk about banks and NBFCs. Do you think much needed clarification has come?
Yes, I mean, that was awaited for a while now. So that has really come about. I mean, so the penal part has been removed, which is a very positive thing to my mind. The only disappointment, if you asked me, was the on the GST on the health insurance. I mean, one thought that between IRDAI and the Ministry of Finance, there was enough that was provided to the Ministry of Finance, and therefore it could have been given to the group of ministers. But that comes as a bit of a disappointment, I must admit. That's true with even life insurance for that matter.
Right, Mr. Parekh, that was one of the decisions which was keenly awaited by industry stakeholders and also the consumers. But yes, this looks little abrupt that the regulator has not sent the recommendation. Yes, what do you think about it, Mr. Rastogi? Do you think more coordination is needed?
I think clearly insurance sector would not want the rate to be reduced as of now. The benefit clearly goes only to the consumer. And GST Council must understand that if the rate reduction happens today, before 31st of March, the benefit will have to be passed on to the consumer. And the situation from 1st of April 2025 will be different. Today, the insurance sector is not very keen for reduction. One, they will have to pass on the benefit to the consumer. Two, they have huge amount of input tax credits which they may not be able to utilize if this becomes exempt or comes to 5%. So I think from that perspective, they are not very keen. But I think GST Council is very, very pragmatic in all of its decision. So it is hoped that in the next GST Council meeting, which happens next month possibly, and is before 31st of March, the decision on this is taken to provide adequate benefit to the consumer in this sector.
I would also like to welcome Mr. Bipin Savra in this conversation. One of the decisions which has been announced in this press conference was that no decision actually has been taken on ATF front. We have discussed this earlier. What do you think is the possibility in the next meeting also? Because Finance Minister clearly mentioned that there was no consensus on levying GST on ATF.
I think the states are right now not comfortable in taking the decision of taxing only ATF, given that the whole petroleum sector continues to be out of the GST, and it's a firm decision which the states have taken. There was a talk also of the ATF being referred to a GOM. That also hasn't happened. So I think next GST Council, at least I do not envisage that this is going to get discussed. I think they need to look at the entire petroleum sector and decide on the way forward as to how this will be taxed, come out with a clear view. And I think for the entire thing needs a GOM, which would really clear the way that this is how it should be taxed. Then only I think we'll get to see it in the GST.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much all for joining at this hour. While the press conference is still underway, the key decisions have been announced, and now we are awaiting for the next GST meeting where at least the decision on insurance may be taken. Let's move